See that box of blinking lights, maybe tucked away in a server rack? That's a Cisco router. And today, we're going to show you how to take complete control of it. We're talking about going from feeling kind of intimidated to feeling like a total pro, moving from zero to hero right on the command line. So let's jump in.
You know, it's kind of like your router has a secret menu, this powerful, hidden world behind all those lights. It's a text-based interface, we call it the CLI, and it gives you total, unfiltered control. This isn't some watered-down setup wizard. No, this is where the real magic happens. We're going straight to the source.
But before we can even think about mastering the CLI, you gotta understand a super important concept. Your router basically has two brains. Yep, two different types of memory for its configuration. One for what it's doing right this second, and another for what it needs to remember for, well, forever. First up, we have the running config. Think of this as the router's short-term memory. It's all stored in RAM. This is the live, active configuration that's telling the router what to do this very moment. When you type in a command and make a change, you're editing this file. It's fast, it's immediate, but it's also got a major weakness. It's volatile. If that router loses power, poof, the entire configuration is just gone.
And that brings us to its long-term memory, the startup config. Now, this is the master blueprint. It's saved in a special kind of permanent memory called NVRAM, which, you guessed it, survives a reboot. So when your router powers on, the first thing it does is look for this file to figure out exactly what it's supposed to be doing. This is the configuration that sticks around.
Let's just break it down nice and simple. The running config, that's your temporary sketchpad. It's active, it's in RAM, and it gets totally erased when you reboot. The startup config, that's the permanent blueprint, stored safely away in NVRAM for the next time it starts up. Seriously, understanding this difference is the absolute key to not losing all your hard work.
Okay, so we get it. The router's got two brains. The next logical question is, how do we actually talk to it to make changes? Well, you've got two main options. You can go with the classic command line interface, or you can use a more modern, graphical one.
The command line interface, the CLI, is without a doubt the tool of choice for network professionals. And why is that? It's lightning fast, it's perfect for automating tasks, and it gives you incredibly precise control over every single setting. It might look a little old school, sure, but its power is just unmatched. And it's the interface we're going to be digging into today.
Now, for those of you who prefer a more visual approach, there's the GUI, the Graphical User Interface. Cisco has a tool called the Security Device Manager, or SDM. And while the CLI is awesome for most tasks, the SDM can be a huge help when you're setting up more complex things, like, say, a VPN with IPsec. Seeing the whole layout visually can make a world of difference sometimes.
All right, so you've spent your time, you've carefully crafted the perfect setup in the router's temporary memory. Now comes the single most important step of this entire process, making it stick.
I honestly can't stress this enough. If you don't explicitly save your work, your changes only exist in that temporary running config. A planned reboot, someone accidentally tripping over the power cord, a brief power outage, any of these things will completely wipe out your work. The next command we're about to learn is the most important save button you will ever use.
So, the command to make your changes permanent is copy running config startup config. It does exactly what it sounds like. It takes the current active configuration from that short-term RAM and copies it over to the permanent storage in NVRAM, making it the new startup config.
Now, let me let you in on a little pro tip. Network engineers are all about being efficient. Typing out copy running config, startup config all day long gets old fast. So here is the universal shortcut you will see absolutely everywhere. Copy run start. Does the exact same thing, just way faster.
Okay, you've configured your router, you've saved your work. Awesome. But how do you actually verify that everything is humming along like it should? Let's do a quick little health check with one simple but incredibly powerful command.
When you run the Show Interfaces command, this right here is the message you are hoping to see. Up, line protocol is up. So what does that mean? Well, that first up tells you the physical layer is good. Your cable is plugged in, you've got a solid link. The second up confirms the data link layer is good. The two devices on either end are talking to each other successfully. This is your green light. Everything is great.
But what if you see this instead? Up, line protocol is down. This is a classic troubleshooting clue. That first up tells you, hey, the physical cable connection is totally fine.
But the down on the protocol side tells you there's a problem at the data link layer. This means you don't have a bad cable, you have a configuration mismatch between your two devices.
And finally, if you see down, line protocol is down, the problem is actually a lot simpler. This points directly to a physical layer issue. The router isn't detecting any signal at all. So before you start digging through settings, the very first thing you should do is check the cable. Is it unplugged? Is it just a bad cable? So here's a quick little cheat sheet to lock it all in. Up, up, you're golden. It's a healthy connection. Up, down points to a layer 2 data link problem, a config issue. And down, down means you've got a layer 1 physical problem to solve, probably with a cable. This simple check can save you literally hours of guesswork.
All right, we've covered the basics. Now, let's talk about the moment that every new admin dreads, that oh no moment. You know, when something goes really wrong, like getting locked out of your own device. It can feel like a total disaster, but listen, don't panic. There is a way out.
It happens to the best of us, for real. You set a nice, secure password, you come back to the router a week later, and your mind is a complete blank. You are locked out. It feels like you've hit a brick wall. But thankfully, there is a well-defined recovery procedure for this exact situation.
Here's the 5-step game plan. First, you're going to physically interrupt the router's boot process to get into a special maintenance mode called ROM-MON. From there, step 2, you change a setting called the configuration register. This is the absolute key, because you're telling the router to just ignore its saved configuration on the next startup. Third, you reload it, and because it ignored the old config, it'll let you write in, no password needed. Fourth, you can copy your old configuration back in, set a brand new password, and save your work. And finally, you restore the register back to its normal setting so it boots correctly from now on.
This one command is the key to the entire operation. Config 0x2142. That configuration register, it's a fundamental setting that tells the router how to boot up. By changing its value to this magic number, 0x2142, while you're in that special maintenance mode, you're basically flipping a switch that tells it, hey, on the very next boot, just ignore the startup config. It is your emergency override.
So let's recap your new toolkit. You now know that routers have two memories, a temporary running config and a permanent startup config. You know to always save your work with copy run start. You can now use show interfaces to diagnose connection problems like a pro, and you know that even getting locked out isn't the end of the world. So there you have it. You now have the fundamental building blocks for managing any Cisco router. You know how it thinks, you know how to save your work, how to check its health, and even how to recover from a crisis. That command line is no longer some secret menu, it's your control panel. So the only question left is, what awesome, powerful network are you going to build first?